Did you guys hear about this Washington Post thing where they tried to cancel me?
Yeah. And look, these guys are clearly trying to. Did you read the red underline in this one?
Well, I read the whole thing, but it's been a
Well, this one's fun because it says if you oppose this irrefutable fact, you're a genocidal, racist, anti-human, and anti-science fool.
Wait, were they saying I'm saying that of people, or they're saying that of me?
They're saying that you're saying that of people.
That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but I think it probably apply to them. That they're what were all those things?
Genocidal, racist, anti-human, and anti-science.
I think that the author is all of those things.
Yeah, certainly. Like, think about
For sure.
So here in 65% white America, it's cool that we can fucking make some kind of play towards renewables while we fuck over at least 40% of the country or the world immediately. 40% of the brown side of the world, right?
That's why you got genocidal, racist,
like,
anti-human,
off,
and it's not scientific.
And
so
it's a dude from India saying that. Like, do you know what the fuck is going on in the country you came from, motherfucker? Like, this, I don't understand these arguments. They don't make any sense.
So the other thing is, it's kind of a gift that people are actually engaging with me, because I wrote this book, The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels, that was one of the best-selling energy books. It hit the New York Times bestseller list, but the mainstream people just ignored it. Like, they want to attack all the people with bad arguments, quote, on my side, but they didn't want to engage me at all. There's only one serious person at all who engaged me well after the book came out. It was in a law journal, and it was just a total straw man, and they let me refute it, and I was done. But the hardest thing is when people won't engage you. Now, I got well-known enough, including I do a lot of work in politics, and I have a lot bigger following now. They couldn't ignore it, so the Washington Post tried to do this thing to cancel the book by portraying me as a racist for being a lifelong individualist, so that was insane. But they prepared this article. They sent me an outline with quotes calling me a racist. And instead of giving them comments, I just made a preemptive public video refuting it for an hour. And they basically got disgraced. And they didn't print the article for a week. And then they ran something with basically all the racism not mentioned. And so it was a huge win for me. But it also showed that people are afraid. And in particular, they were trying to criticize me for the argument you're making, which is that it's wrong to tell poor people they can't use fossil fuels. And so their argument was Alex is a racist, therefore his argument that poor people are hurt by this is wrong because he doesn't really care about this, which is false because I'm an individualist, and also false because even if I was a racist, that argument would still be totally true. And you would be terrible for hurting those poor people, even if you didn't consider yourself a racist. But it's great that people are engaging it. The other thing is I've gotten so many people who love the book, and that's what really matters. Like, the book is some idiot writing in Slate for a piece that they commissioned to attack me. That's not very significant. What is significant is all these new people, from all different, from the finance world, even from the MMA and jiu-jitsu world now, people are getting really into it. Like, that's the Drinkin Bros world now we're expanding into. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's awesome. And so my view is, I'm very arrogant about this. I mean, I think it's the best energy book in the world. I spent 15 years on this issue, 3 years on this book. And my strategy was write the best, clearest book that no one can refute, to my knowledge, and then just share it with people. And that's what I'm doing. And nobody has come close to trying to refute it, trying.
Look, it's amazing, and I love the confidence. And I think we need more authors who talk like fucking NBA players, like, for real. I think it's great. I'm actually not joking when I say that.
I'm laughing because great. My motive. When I decided to become a philosopher, I later decided to become an energy expert. I didn't want to go to academia. I had a degree from Duke, but I didn't want a master's or PhD because I thought they were mostly kind of moronic in terms of modern philosophy. And my idol was Kobe Bryant because he was a year older, and he went straight to the NBA, right? He didn't go to college to get a credential. He did the thing that got him best. And I really thought, like, look, I'm going to be the Kobe Bryant of philosophy. I'm going to actually go in the real world and learn how to think clearly and convince people, and I'm going to get good as quickly as possible. And then the credentials won't matter. And so you see now, what are people saying? Oh, you're just a philosopher. Oh, you don't have a PhD. Like, that's their best argument because I'm clearly on a different level than they are in terms of my actual knowledge and argument. So I think I believe it's the right strategy, particularly in today's world, to just become the best. And then people can't deny it. Just like I'm watching this jiu-jitsu match tonight with this guy, Gordon Ryan. He's right now is the best. And in jiu-jitsu, you get to fight. So it's really easy. Now, in my field, you get to debate, but fewer and fewer people are willing to debate.
Right. And then other people will point out what could be wrong, might be wrong, everything else. Tonight's thing, there will be a winner and a fucking loser. There is no in between. And that's what's probably more satisfying for somebody like you.
Yes.
Because you probably feel like you're winning every single day in real life.
Yes.
But nobody will declare you the winner.
Well, many people will. The readers will. No, many people will. The readers.
People's champ.
But what we need in a debate, as I've offered this, Joe Rogan suggested this, and I volunteered, is what you really need is like something like a no time limit debate or 3 or 4 hours, because otherwise people just get saved by the bell after an hour or something like that, and that's what I've offered. Like let's do a 4-hour debate where we can check references live as long as you want, because nobody can answer. The point is,
well, who would be your dream to go against if you were going 4 hours? And let's say Rogan was the moderator.
Well, kind of the dream is Elon Musk for sentimental reasons, but he's actually converted more toward my position. I'm not saying I influenced him, but he's been less of a climate catastrophist and more pro-fossil fuels in the last couple of years. Andrew Dessler is not a bad one. I mean, Al Gore would kind of be the ideal.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's the...
But he's such a fucking hypocrite. Like, you could pull up his house, his beach house, everything that he said. Remember, the ocean was going to be gone.
I would agree.
Then he bought
not
a huge
to do,
beach house.
I don't like hypocrisy arguments anyway. So I would agree to leave those out.
What about Man Bear Pig?
Would I agree to not mention that?
I mean, no. According to South Park, he was right about that.
Yeah, and
because Man Bear Pig did come back.
He did invent
I think it's
the internet.
Season 16, maybe.
Al Gore did create.
I
I
would not mention the expression "invent the internet." I would agree to all of these stipulations as long as we got to.
That's the one
to talk about it.
He gets heat for that just doesn't make any sense. Like, he was referring to the royal we, like America, DARPA invented the internet, not Al Gore invented the internet.
Right.
That's like, there's a lot of reasons to be critical of that dude. That's not that one.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is one. So
he's been on the show.
Yeah, has he?
Oh yeah,
he's interesting. So you need somebody. I mean, you need somebody who thinks it's going to go well for them.
And got it. So you can take their legs out.
Well, they need to agree to do it, and that's hard to get them to do. And usually, the people who agree to do it are a little bit delusional.
Well, I think I know why. Do you know why?
Why they agree to do it?
No, why they wouldn't agree to do it.
Oh, I know why. Of course, I know why they wouldn't agree to do it.
I mean, when you get to, let's say, Neil deGrasse Tyson, for example, right? He is this beloved figure, and any sort of challenge against him at this point, if somebody were to come in and steamroll him like you, right? Then it would knock him down a peg, and everybody would be like, "Oh man, but that was my hero. That was the guy."
Right?
Why risk it at that point?
Yeah, you shouldn't.
It's kind of like a great boxer later on in their career. It's like, do I really want to go up against the top ranked guy?
What about Bill Nye? He's done debates.
Yeah,
before.
he would be a good one. Yeah, no, I mean, he's turned it down. A lot of these guys.
Oh, Bill Nye has? No shit. That's funny. What do you politically? Where do you lean? And I guess, how do you embrace everybody saying the far right loves you?
Oh, do they say that?
A lot. And it's in 5 articles. I'm just on your first Google search here.
Well, so I mean, I think
far right darling. Somebody called you.
My usual expression, which my fiance loves as well, and we have the same beliefs on this, is like I say I'm too pro freedom to be a Republican.
Okay.
So that's my issue with Republicans, is they're not nearly pro freedom enough.
You weren't a big fan of the Patriot Act, or
what's
what?
that? Well, that's a kind of complicated thing. But libertarianism also I have issues with, because it often is just hostility toward government as such. And I think government is a great achievement. It just needs to be very limited in its functions. So I'm like very pro a strong national defense, but it has to be very focused on America's interests, not just turning Iraq into a democracy or something like that. To take a hypothetical.
I mean, look, it worked. Okay.
Yeah.
It worked really well.
So yeah, I mean, I'm hugely influenced by the philosopher Ayn Rand. Have you ever heard of her?
Yeah.
Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged, and so that I basically got my political philosophy from her. So very individual rights based. And so what I find is, on this issue, I align with a lot of people that I might disagree with on other issues. For instance, like, I'm not a religious person, but I align with many religious people on this issue, because most of them agree that you should prioritize human life and you should not sacrifice it to the idea of an unimpacted planet. And so in that respect, like, their religious views are much more rational than the modern pseudoscientific environmental views. And, there are a lot of people on the left who actually agree with me, like people who, the old left, used to believe in industry and impacting the earth and factories and stuff. And the new left became against that. But there are still people who consider themselves socialists who think climate catastrophe is crazy and who think fossil fuels are great. So I have a lot of views, but I'm monomaniacally focused on this issue because I really am trying to convert the world on, like, the hardest issue. And so that's a full-time job.
Yeah, because look, I'm just, again, going through the media here, and the articles that love you you would describe them as far right publications.
Kind of a coincidence, though, right? Because the only reason they care about him is because of this single issue that they happen to be on the same side of.
Right, and isn't that frustrating?
But I would say the vast majority of them can't explain why you're right.
I depend. I don't know. We'd have to look at the different sources, but I find that some of the reviews are really thoughtful, but also just some of the comments. I mean, one great thing about Twitter is you get to see what thousands and thousands of people think of things, and Instagram, and just for me, the best things are the people who message me and say, I just got one, a few minutes before the show, like, you totally changed the way I think about climate. And it's just like an individual. Listen to me on the show Modern Wisdom with Chris Williamson, who's also
he's
in
a buddy
Austin.
of ours, yeah.
Oh, yes, he's been on the show numerous times.
He's actually the guy who I think got you guys introduced to me through Ari.
Yeah, we love Chris. He's fantastic.
He's awesome. He actually moderated my discussion with Peter Thiel to launch the book that I was.
No shit. Sweet. Okay.
Yeah, I was on his show for a second time, and I just got this note, and it's like I'm really just trying to change individual people's minds. So whatever level they're at, the thing I look for is their mind actually being affected versus they're just reflexively opposing it or reflexively agreeing with it because it's, here's another person on our team. But I never, like, I'm not a political guy in terms of, like, almost never talk about, like, Republicans good, Democrats bad. So even though people will ally with me, I don't feed into the tribalism at all myself.
Has any part of your research been about human psychology? Like, I know your background is in philosophy, so there's a lot of, like, philosophy is basically trying to understand human beings and understand our place in the world, right? Have you done any real in-depth research about how an idea forms in society and how it flourishes or becomes discredited?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it's kind of, there's psychology, there's also intellectual history.
Sure,
So I'm interested in both of those.
Yeah.
So I think a lot about...
Because I wonder, just the way you're describing this, you are starting at the top of the funnel trying to talk to people who are ready to listen. But have you thought at all about how you create, like, firebrand people, I guess we would call them in marketing, but force multipliers, right? Like, how do I empower this reader now to go out and share this? Like, I know you do it on your website.
Yeah.
With bullet points, like, here's how you talk about this and stuff like that.
So, like, there's the website energytalkingpoints.com that's designed this way. So I would say I'm unusually strategic about this kind of thing. And one thing is, so I'm a couple examples. So one is, I think a lot about how do I create messages in ways that people will be able to use them. So one thing is energytalkingpoints.com, which I encourage everyone to check out and go on the mailing list. Every point on that website is the length of a tweet that you can share. Like, that's very deliberate, and everything you can share out of context. So any given one, you could just share that.
Self-sustaining.
And it would be,
idea.
but yet they all add up. So that's one kind of thing. Another thing is, I'm very obsessed with thoughtful people who are influential, which is why I'm here, right? Is that you guys have influence. And what did I do? Like, I asked you guys very strongly, please read the book in advance. And most shows, I'll just say, like, I'm not going on unless you read the book.
Yeah.
And the reason is because I know that a lot of shows, they just want to, like, it's understandable. I even haven't always read all the books that people have been on my show. Like, you want to just have a good guest, and maybe you can just have a list of questions. But what I'm trying to do is, I know that for every 10 thoughtful people who read my book, 3 will really like it, and they'll take it with them. And I'm trying to, so I'm obsessed with finding influential people. And then I'm also obsessed with taking, like, the 50 best people on my side right now and then teaching them what I know about how to be persuasive. So I do a lot of stuff behind the scenes that people don't see, but it's all about how do you actually, like, society is heading in this terrible direction and everyone thinks it's good.
Yeah.
How do you change that? The other ally we have is reality, because what everyone thought was right has now caused an obvious energy crisis. And so right now, people are more open than ever to an alternative, which is, you look at that Slate article, that headline should have been written a year ago when it was plausible. And now the whole world wants more fossil fuels. It's not just me.
Because that's what
Biden wants them.
That's what's been happening recently, is that but before this current energy crisis, the people who have been doomsday apocalyptic environmentalists over the last 30 or 40 years have routinely, since about 2005, said, we weren't wrong, our time scale was just a little messed up.
That's what they said for over 50 years.
That's why I always compare them to Jehovah's Witnesses, because it's the exact same fucking thing. But now an actual problem has occurred. It's not the absence of the problem they predicted, it's like an actual crisis, right? Which is, it gives you the opportunity to be like, here's what they said, and you are living in the fucking reality now, right? Like, use your eyes and ears and brain and understand what's happening to you. I think it's easier to convince people of shit.